Thank you for selecting on the How to File a Statement of Economic Interest, or SEI, training. This training is provided by the Oregon Government Ethics Commission. You will file your SEI from the Reports tab on your account in the electronic filing system. Click on the blue button at the bottom of the page called File a New Report. If you're a first-time filer, you'll need to enter all the information requested. If you filed an SEI last year, that information will show on this year's SEI. You will only need to update it with any changes. Just like our taxes, the 2025 SEI will be based on information in 2024. Now let's go through the process of completing the SEI. Question 1. A business office or directorship or a business name. This is where the SEI filer would list 1. If the SEI filer or household member were in an officer or director of a corporation. A business is any legal entity operated for an economic gain. For example, a corporation, partnership, proprietorship, firm, enterprise, franchise, association, organization, or self-employment. A business is not a government entity or public body, or a 501c3 nonprofit if in a non-compensated capacity. If there's nothing to report, the user must click the box which says check here for none. This must be done throughout the process. By clicking on the blue dot with the question mark to access a pop-up window that will provide additional guidance on what the information the question is asking the filer to provide. Click on the blue Add an Item button to add a business. This is what the screen will look like when 1A, Add an Item, is clicked on. Click Submit to add a business once you have filled out all of the information. SEI filers are required to list the names of businesses that they or members of their household did business under during the preceding calendar year. This is where you list any business that you or a household member owned, were a partner in at any point in 2024, including LLCs, DBAs, self-employment, etc. If nothing to report, you must check the Check Here for None box. If you have something to report, click on Add an Item. This is what the screen will look like when 1B, Add an Item, is clicked on. Click Submit to add a business after you've filled out all the information. New in 2024, listing the clients of businesses. SEO filers that list business in questions 1A or 1B must also include any client, customer, investor, or any other entity who the business has a legal, contractual, or otherwise business relationship if they have contributed 10% or more of the business total gross annual income, and they have a legislative or administrative interest in your public official position, meaning the client has an economic interest in your actions, decisions, and votes that you make while you are in the role of a public official. Or the client has been doing business, does business, or could reasonably be expected to do business with the public body you serve. If there are no clients to list, if your business does not have any clients that contribute 10% or more of the business gross annual income, then click the box under the client's business name screen title. Then click Save. The page will update and it will show no clients 10% or greater. Then select Return to the SEI report to continue filing. If you do have clients to list in 1A or 1B, you'll need to follow the question tree starting with does the client contribute 10% or more of the business total gross annual income? You will next be prompted to answer if the client has a legislative or administrative interest. Remember, this is an economic interest in your role as a public official that is distinct from the general public. You will also need to select yes if the client does business or could do business with the public body you serve. If you select yes, question 3 will ask if you have a statutory duty to keep client information privileged or confidential. If you select no, the questions will expand to input the client's info. This includes the description of client, which simply wants you to list if it's a client, customer, contractor, investor, or other type of legal or business relationship. Once all the client information is input, you will select Save. That client information will show on the page. If you have additional clients to add, you can click on the plus Add Client button and repeat the process of answering the question for all clients that need to be added. Once you have added all the clients needed, select a Return to SEI Report to continue filing. If you do have clients that you have a statutory duty to keep private or confidential, the process will look a little different. You'll select yes on the question asking about a duty to keep client information private. Then you'll be questioned on whether you've made a formal request to disclose their information. You must make this request. If you select no, you'll be directed to enter the client's information when you select yes. When you select yes, you'll then be asked if the client has given authorization to disclose their information. If yes, it will expand for you to enter the client information. If no, you will not need to enter the information. Whether yes or no, you'll then click Save. Whether you were authorized to share their information or not, you will need to electronically sign to confirm that you did make a formal request in accordance with the statute. You will need to complete this step for each client that you have a statutory obligation to keep their information confidential. Your electronic signature must match the name on your SCI Filer account, and you'll need to select the confirmed option before selecting Submit. The client screen will now show confidential for any clients that didn't authorize their information to be shared and include any client information that was not confidential or was authorized to share. Just like before, you'll click on Return to SCI Report to continue filing. If you need to edit the client information while filing or while amending, you can do so by clicking on the hyperlink number beneath each client's column. Please note, if you have entered in information in questions 2 through 10 and have not clicked on Save and File later, you will lose any information you have added if you click on these client hyperlinks. You'll be taken to the client page and be able to edit client information by selecting the edit symbol to the right. This will pull the client information spot up at the bottom, so make sure you scroll down if you aren't seeing anything happen. Make sure you select Save after making any changes. It will only show as a clickable option when you've made an applicable change, and then select Return to SCI Report to continue filing. Question 2 requires SCI filers to list all sources of income that made up more than 10% or more of the total household annual income in 2024. This includes not just you, but any member of your household who is over 18. You are not listing any amounts, only the sources. Income includes salary, wage, advance, payment, dividend, interest, rent, honorarium, return of capital, forgiveness of indebtedness, retirement income, real estate transactions, inheritance income, etc. This includes income from government sources such as Social Security, disability, veterans benefits, and income received from your public body. An SCI filer's business could be a source of income. They are not required to list individual clients. Example, you own a farm, which should be listed under 1B. It doesn't matter if you sell all of your products to one entity or 1,000. Your source of income will be the farm, not who you sell your product to. SCI filers cannot leave this blank. Everyone's household has some source of income. Name of source. Who is paying the filer's income? Description of source is where you identify which member of household is receiving the income/salary from the income source. i.e., the salary, wages, advance, payment, dividend, interest, rent, honorarium, return of capital, forgiveness of indebtedness, retirement income, real estate transactions, inheritance income, Social Security, etc. An example of this would be the City of Springfield address, spouse's salary. Once done, click Submit. Question 3 requires listing all real property located within the geographical boundaries of the jurisdiction served, other than the principal residence, in which an SCI filer or household member had any ownership interest, option to purchase or sell, or other legal right of any kind in 2024. Do not list principal address. For example, the home address. The SCI is public record. Geographical boundaries depend on your jurisdiction. It would be statewide for state officials, countywide for county officials, etc. Example, the director of U of O would include all property owned in Oregon because U of O is located in Oregon, whereas the mayor of the city of West Lynn would only list properties owned within the city of West Lynn. Real property can include residential, farmland, commercial, and vacant land. It does not include property held in trust if the filer or the household members have no actual authority to buy or sell. You will need to enter a description such as a vacant land, vacation home, commercial property, rental property, and include the actual address of the property before clicking on the Add button. Question 4. Office-related events are when an entity other than the public body you serve has paid for your travel, food, lodging expenses for you to attend the event as a public official. The expenses would have been accepted under either the F or H gift restrictions. This covers expenses related to attending events where the entity paying for the expense is not the public body you serve. For example, if you're a school board member, OSBA asks you to present at one of their conferences and pays for your food, lodging, and transportation. That would be reported here. If you're a school board member and the school district you serve pays for you to attend the OSBA conference, you do not need to report this. In addition to being a school board member, you serve on the board of OSBA. They pay for you to attend the conference in your role as a board member of OSBA. You do not need to report this. Let's take a look at A first. Question 4A of the SCI requires SCI filers to list any expense that exceeds $50 that were accepted under the F gift exception. This is where expenses must be paid for by an outside entity that is a government entity, Native tribe, a Native American tribe, membership organization, nonprofit organization. Again, this does not cover food, lodging, travel paid by your own public body. The public official must be participating in a convention, fact-finding mission trip, meeting where you are scheduled to speak, participate in a panel, discussion, or represent government. This question is one of 2 questions that will require you to upload supplemental information. Expense payer must provide a written notice to the public official of the expense amount within 10 days of the event. This notice must be uploaded to the SCI at the end. Question 4B requires an SCI filer to list the expenses for food, lodging, and travel as well. Receipt of the expenses received under this provision H, must be officially sanctioned in advance and in writing and do not need to be uploaded to the notice in the SCI. 4B is asking about reasonable expenses paid for the public official and relatives, household members, and staff. When public official represents a government body on an official sanctioned or designated trade promotion, fact-finding mission, negotiation, or economic development. Both 4A and 4B ask for the same information. This includes the date of the event, the organization that paid for your expenses, their address, the nature of the event, For example, name of conference or type of event if FB, if 4B, and the amount of the expenses that were paid for before clicking the add button. Question 5 of the SEI is asking about honoraria you may have received. Honorarium is a payment of something of economic value given to a public official in exchange for providing a service in their official capacity. Services can include speeches or presentations in connection with an event. These items usually are things like a certificate, plaque, or other commemorative token. The report requires SCI filers to list all items exceeding $15 that were received as honoraria. Public officials are limited to a value of $50 or less when receiving honorarium. The provider of the honorarium is required to notify the receiving public official in writing if the item's value within 10 days after the event at which the item was given. This notice must be uploaded to the SCI. Filers will need to include the date, the name of who gave the honoraria, the nature of the event, and the value of the item received. To add information, use the buttons. Question 6 of the report requires SCI filers to list any business that they or their household members were associated with in 2024 that also paid a lobbyist. What qualifies as an associated business? For SCI filers, an associated business is any business listed in question 2. It also includes for a private business or closely held corporation to be a business with which you are associated. You, the public official, or your household members must be a director, officer, owner, employee, or agent, or you or your household members own or have owned stock, another form of equity interest, stock options, or debt instruments worth $1,000 or more in that privately held business at any point in the preceding calendar year. For publicly held corporations, they are considered a business with which you are associated if you, the public official, or your household members are an officer or a director. Or you or your household member own or have owned stock, another form of equity interest, stock options, or debt instruments worth $100,000 or more in that publicly held corporation at any point in the preceding calendar year. So back to question 6 on the report. You will list any business in questions 1A, 1B, or source of income that meet the definition of a business that you or your household members are associated with that also paid a lobbyist in 2024. For example, I work for a small hazelnut farm. How do I find out if the farm has paid a lobbyist? You can do a public records search on OGEC's website. You are asked to give the name of the lobbyist, the name of the business, and the type of business. Questions 7 through 10 of the report require SCI filers to answer only if the source of the interest was received from an individual or business that had a legislative interest or administrative interest, or the individual or business could reasonably be known to do business with the governing/public body or jurisdiction that the SCI filer holds a position with, is appointed by, or can exercise any authority over. Remember, legislative or administrative interest is when the source has an economic interest in the SCI filer's actions, decisions, and votes while they are acting in the capacity of a public official that is distinct from that of the general public. This is where you would list any source of income of $1,000 or more from any individual or business that has an economic interest in your role as a public official. You will list the source of the income, address, and a description, such as spouse's income or rental home, etc. If you or a member of your household owe a debt of $1,000 or more to a person or business during 2024 that has an economic interest in your role as a public official, this does not include loans from state and federally regulated institutions or retail credit accounts. You will list the name of the individual or business, the date of the loan, and the interest rate. Question 9 is asking you to list any business interest or investment of $1,000 or more in a business that you or a household member has where that business has an economic interest in your role as a public official. You'll list the business name, address, and a brief description of the business before you're adding it to the list. The final question asks you to list anyone you have received a service fee of more than $1,000 who had an economic interest in you as a public official. This is only if you personally received a service fee. This is not if your business listed in 1A or 1B received the service fee. Do not list fees if you are prohibited from doing so by law or a professional code of ethics. For this question, you will just need to list the payer of the service fee. If it applies now is when you will be able to upload the required travel and honorarium notices. Otherwise, do not upload any additional documents. To upload documents for questions 4A, travel, food, and lodging of $50 or more, and 5, honoraria of $15 or more, click Choose Files button to access the files saved on the file's computer. Then click the Save and File Later button, allows for breaks. The system automatically times out after 30 minutes and does not automatically save. So if you need to stop, hit Save and File Later. Otherwise, the system will time out. If you do not hit Save and File Later, please make sure you come back to submit a pending SEI does not equal a filed SEI. And then click Submit button on to file your SEI. Once the Submit button is clicked, a final verification page will pop up. The SEI filer must list their first and last name as registered in their profile. If someone else files your SEI on your behalf, sign with your name followed with by the name of the person who assisted, i.e., Tony Miller by Jane Smith, JC 4 City. Remember that this SEI filer is the responsible party. If anything is found wrong with the SEI, OGEC will contact and hold the SEI filer accountable. Then have them click on the checkbox shown above to confirm. Finally, check on File Report or continue editing if there's more to add. To confirm that your SEI report has been filed, you will receive an email confirmation. If there is no confirmation code on this page, that is okay. Click on Go to My Account to confirm that your filed SEI is listed. When you return to your account, you will see the 2025 listed and the status should be listed as filed. If it is listed as pending, that means you have saved your SEI but not filed. To reopen the file, click on the pencil/edit icon next to the pending status to finish answering the questions. Do not forget to click Submit at the bottom of the report once you have finished answering the questions to successfully file your report. What if you need to make changes after you filed? You can amend your SEI by clicking on the blue plus icon under the Commands column. This will reopen your SEI and allow you to make the necessary changes. Do not forget to click Submit at the bottom of the report to save your changes. Thank you so much for taking the training. You now know how to file your SEI. If you have any further questions or need any further clarification, please contact us at OGEC. We are more than happy to help you. Thank you so much for being an SEI filer and for serving your community.